What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of From the Wing. I'm Christian Clark, the Pelicans beat writer for Noel.com and The Advocate, coming at you Sunday afternoon from the beautiful Town Place Suites in downtown Indianapolis,
Ooh, the
Indiana.
town place. Just
Joined
rolls off the
by,
tongue.
for the first time in a while, a new dad. Adam, how you doing, man?
I'm alive. I'm not sleeping very much, but we're here. We are here. Brooks is here. He is quite the wild man. Popped out of there with a wild head of hair and eyes flying all over the place. He's making funny noises and funny faces all the time. It's pretty entertaining. He's pretty entertaining.
How's the sleep part of it?
Oh, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Everybody tries to tell you. Everybody like hints at like, oh yeah, you're not going to sleep. There's more to it than that. Like I would just for any expectant fathers in the near future, I would just read up on if you're gonna do breastfeeding. I would read up on cluster feeding and what that's like because it's a little different than what people like tell you about in terms of losing sleep and whatnot. Um, it's like you're laying siege to a castle. You never know when it's going to fall. You're just out there and you just keep hammering after it, and eventually, might be 6 o'clock in the morning. Who knows? Eventually, the gate will fall, and when it does, congratulations, you just earned a whopping 2 hours of sleep. Close those eyes, run for your life, hope for the best.
So you feel like an orc storming Helm's Deep right now.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'm running to my foreseeable doom. That's what I'm running straight into my foreseeable doom. I know I'm just an extra on the cast and I'm going down early, but I'm running there with all the passion in the world. Um, Another fun development is like obviously we have Chloe in the house, my beautiful white and gray husky, and she is really curious about this fleshy dog that lives here now and is unsure how she feels. Every few minutes, she's just getting very inquisitive. It started off like she was looking at Brooks like he was a T-bone, and now we've progressed to I just want to know what this crying thing is, and so she's like sniffing him and licking his feet and stuff all the time. But things are going well, man. Like on the grand scheme of things, my wife is a literal hero for going through 40 hours of labor and still popping this kiddo out. Quite the war. But yeah, he's been awesome. Things are going great. All the cliche things they tell you about how you're going to feel and all that. I struggle with that stuff usually. I'm usually not like Mr. Emotional. I can be a very passionate person, but I struggle with emotions from time to time and expressing them. Everybody asked me beforehand, like, oh, what's it feel like? You're going to be a dad, blah, blah, blah. I can't do anything with that. Like my brain doesn't know what to do with before it actually happens. And then it does happen. And now I'm just like, I'm like Waterworks, like all the time. Like Kevin Costner's Waterworld, that's me. Waterworld 2, starring Adam. It's every day. It could be somebody could just say hi, and I might be like, that's so great. Um, yeah, I'm very, very overwhelmed, and in a lot
We're,
of ways, good, bad, ugly, the whole nine.
we're going to talk about another Pelicans overtime loss. Are you going to be able to hold it together?
Oh, dude, the greatest part, the fringe benefit of having this child is I have watched the games. And when the discourse immediately, I now know kind of what it's like to be a media member where like you watch the game and then you have media to do after, like you have press, you have availability you got to go do. So you miss that like first 2 hours of really shitty online discourse. And I don't hear any of that. I don't see any of it because I have, as soon as that TV goes off, I got stuff I got to do. There are diapers to change and things to do. This is all brand new. It's a minute to minute game. Um, so yeah, I have like a lot of broad opinions, but I don't have like the little obsessive microcosmic angst. It's been good. It's been good. I can handle it. Bring on OT. I've lived in OT since Brooks was born. So every day is OT. Let's go.
It's pretty incredible. The Pelicans have played 9 games. 3 of them have gone into overtime. They've lost all 3. The home opener against the Jazz, the Lakers on the road, and this one to the Hawks. All of them were gut punches. They were deflating in their own way. If Jordan Clarkson doesn't hit, kind of a prayer 3, they probably win the Jazz game. If they just hit one free throw in the end against the Lakers, they tie that one up. If they just properly switch at the end of regulation, Matt Ryan probably doesn't get that clean of a look at a three, doesn't go to overtime. This one hurt too. They had a 2-point lead with less than a minute to go. Zion hit this beautiful turnaround jumper. They
What was that?
weren't able to make the jumper to go up 4. DeJounte Murray ties it 4 seconds left. And here we are. On one hand, look, they're 5-4. I think they're 7th in net rating. Guys have been out of the lineup. Like, Zion has played for Willie Green all of 20 minutes. On the other hand, it feels like, man, they've blown a lot of opportunities. What were your overall thoughts on yesterday's game against Atlanta?
So I think Dejounte Murray over the last couple of years, I think my biggest takeaway from that game is Dejounte Murray just got so much better over the last 2 years. DeJounte. Sorry, you've corrected me once before. I need to think Italian when I say that. Like Danilo Gallinari, DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, I got it. That's DeJounte. So he has really, really leveled up as a two-way player the last 2 years. I think we saw it in the Spurs, but you're dubious because the Spurs are so bad that you're like, how good is he really when people care about playing him every night? I mean, we've talked about a bunch of hypothetical trades for guys to be next to Trae Young, guys that can also create and can really defend to kind of ease his workload. He's in there with goggles like he's Reggie Jackson. And dude, they looked great as a backcourt. They looked really, really good as a backcourt pair. I'm scared of that backcourt against backups too when they stagger. DeJounte's really good. He's really, really good. He looked great in that game. I think, BI looked like he just missed 3 games and played a back-to-back. A ton of missed shots, one more, and it's a different game. But I think I'm kind of a silver linings guy. Like, I'm a fan, so okay, like maybe this is what I do. I kind of have 2 versions of the Pelicans that I see right now. It's like how I feel after an individual game, and then it's what we said about them coming into the year and what we thought they were. I think what we thought they were is a team that wins a significant majority of their games when all their stars play. And the question is, how often do the stars play together? I think I like seeing that this team should have been out of that Lakers game and this Hawks game. They were not the better team for the entirety of both of those games. And despite like major bad games, like we've had a lot of like kind of really, really terrible games from Herb when he was playing. He looked more himself in that Hawks game. CJ's been steady, has been great throughout. Even if he's missing shots, he makes the big ones. He's making plays for everybody, averaging career high in assists, which is something we probably thought was going to happen. BI on the back-to-back, he looked great on the front end, and he looked bad on the back end. And it was just missed shots. And even still, they drew up the game winner. He got to one of his spots. He got to one of his little kick jumpers with his knee out, and he just missed it. I think this team over the course of the season is going to, I mean, we said they were young. They're going to lose some games that don't make sense, that make you scratch your head. And they're also going to challenge everyone every night, regardless of what the lead is. They don't really have a quitter's mentality. They clawed back into every game that they have lost, and they've gotten it to one possession or even retaken a lead. I think my biggest struggle, Larry, with that kick ahead on the rebound, he beats the whole defense, takes off from one step inside the 3-point line, maybe misjudged his trajectory, and misses a gimme layup because there's no way you're making a layup from 1 foot inside the 3-point line. Got a little excited. Weird to see from a vet.
Got to dunk
I was like, what are we doing? Or at least get it under the rim, take the power dribble, let them fly past you, take the contact, get fouled, go up. It's like that's fundamental stuff, and it's just weird to see from a vet like that. Like, he just got too excited, took off too early, and it was just never going to happen. Like, you're not dunking from the free throw line, and that's essentially what you made yourself do, is like try to make a layup from the free throw line.
Yeah, of the 9 games they've played, I would file 2 of the games under the Pelicans played well. That was opening night in Brooklyn and the Dallas win, without three of the starters. They've still got a lot of things to figure out. I was gonna save it, but we can do it right now. Tied game, 4 seconds left. Willie puts Devontae in the game for a little more shooting, which I actually thought was good. Brandon, gets to go one-on-one at the top of the key and just misses the jumper. Did you like that play call? Because after rewatching the game today, I thought Zion kind of had it cooking. Like Zion really was the person who fueled that comeback. They were down 13 with 5 minutes to go. Willie calls this timeout. Like Zion kind of got him back in the game offensively. Um, you know, it's easy to nitpick in hindsight, but I kind of felt like, yeah, that would have been a good one for Zion just because he had it rolling.
I think so. He had it rolling, but what end did he have it rolling on? Only one. That's my big struggle and where I'm okay with Willie on the front end of this season. I think there's two debates. You could say that Zion should just be in on those because of where he is in his career and because you should be building him up in moments like that. Like in the playoffs, you're going to need him and Ingram both on the floor at the same time. You're going to need to make a team defend that and find what you like in those possessions so that you can have that death lineup. You can have that really trusty go-to menu of moves you can have. But I think if there's any one of the big things so far through the season, I haven't seen Zion defend a lick in one-on-one situations. And I think when that team, like the problem wasn't offense. Like we missed shots and stuff, but the problem through all these bad games, like the defense on some possessions just completely falls apart. Trae Young walked into the paint probably 10 times in that game, and it was the same dump off pass to the dunker spot. They bought it. Two people sucked in on him every single time. Nobody had help. Nobody had the back door. And it's just easy dunk, easy dunk, easy dunk. That kind of stuff. And just with Zion, for me, it's always the blow-bys. It doesn't even look like he's trying to stay in front of people at the point of attack. And so like that, those two things are battling for me. Because yes, offensively, he gets charged up and you may not be able to stop him, but he also like doesn't really get foul calls either. And he isn't finishing with a bunch of counter moves and stuff. Although I will say he did some body positioning stuff to like turn himself sideways and get around some guys that were trying to take charges. More of that, please. But I kind of get being in a weird position with him because the defense is a negative and the offense is a positive, but the offense also runs into a ton of charges and, can kind of make the floor very single threaded when it comes to them defending you. So I kind of get experimenting early in the season. I think the argument could go either way. I also am here for the argument that like Zion should be in those moments because you have to build this up. This needs to be the strength.
He was in. I just mean like, should they have called like the last shot in regulation for him? Like should they have just given him the ball in the middle of the floor? I mean, he was in the game, but like, and let him try to score. I mean, I think so just because like I'm kind of the, I'm just going to ride the hot hand philosophy.
Yeah.
Like if CJ or Zion or BI, like I feel like they are in a rhythm, like more often than not, like, my gut instinct, and who cares what I think in those moments, is let's just continue rolling with that because they're rolling. Nothing more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to argue with BI getting inside of 15 feet and taking a jumper. So yeah, but I totally get it, and I think that's one of the things to learn throughout the season. Is what are those go-to closing plays going to be? I think we know where CJ is comfortable. We know where BI is comfortable. What's Zion going to do in those moments? Yeah, I can't really argue with you. If he's the guy that thrusts you back and they're struggling with him, make them struggle with him. Make them continue to struggle with him. And you only had the final shot? We had 4 seconds left. So it really had to be. It funny enough, the play for BI was the opposite direction that Zion would have been comfortable, but it's exactly the kind of inbound that would have been the thing you want for him. Comes over the top of a screen, immediately cuts in the paint and starts going toward the rim, and then BI pulls up where Zion would have gone and finished. So yeah.
I thought New Orleans issues in the Atlanta game were twofold. I didn't see any tempo or ball movement in the first half. That was something that Willie talked about after the game. And then, as you said, they just really struggled to contain Trae Young and DeJounte Murray off the dribble. Like Trae Young was, like, it felt like he was blowing by them like almost any time he wanted to. Like they just didn't contain him at all. Um, what this offense, like they're still in the top 10, but it still seems like to me they have some things to figure out. Um, they are dead last in the NBA in 3-point attempts. They took 23 in an overtime game, which is not a ton. You know, I think they're going to be fine. Um, this is why part of why I was making a big deal out of the starters never played together in the preseason, and I thought that was a big deal because it just takes time for everybody to get on the same page and willing to figure out like the actions that work. Like it just doesn't, it can happen, I guess, at the snap of the fingers, but oftentimes it doesn't. And the starting five hardly played together during training camp. It looked great in Brooklyn, and then Bi goes out with the concussion. Like I think they're just working through some things, and I chalk a lot of that up to they haven't played that much together.
Yeah. I think, so far we're kind of like we're last year's Phoenix model, where like Phoenix didn't shoot a ton of threes either. We're like amongst the lowest in the league, but we're plus in every category because they just overwhelmed you with how diverse and how many players they could put on the floor and play competent basketball at every position, a lot of wing size, all that. We're kind of the same thing. We have a bunch of midi chefs, including Zion, which quick momentary highlight. What in the hell was that turnaround little step back in crunch time? Like worst time ever for me to see that man pirouette, fall away, and shoot a jumper. And it's just cloth. It's strings. It's a nice little.
I don't know if he's a midi chef, but that was a very nice little meal he cooked up there.
Oh my God. Like he was Luca for a second. He just decided to be Luca for a second. If that's a thing, I mean, it's clearly not a thing. Like tiniest sample in the history of time. We would love to see him develop like a really trusty, versatile midi game. If he does, then all of a sudden that rim pressure is going to mean a whole different thing. But especially with the way that people defend him currently, if he runs into a wall like they've been throwing at him, they've been throwing 2 and 3 guys right in front of the rim. He's causing a ton of charging fouls. If he can run into that and pivot away and get a shot off that he gets comfortable with, that stuff's going to end. So yeah, I'm very excited for what that was. Like I'm taking that as like my little positive highlight of the game is like, I didn't know that was a thing that he could do.
It was gorgeous.
But anyway, back to that was all-star level. Any guy in the NBA making that play, like that's like Tim Duncan Dirk stuff. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I mean,
it seeped into my brain and I just needed to gush.
There are moments, flashes of some really nice stuff from Zion, including what you just talked about. Largely, he still looks like a guy who didn't play basketball, 5-on-5 basketball for 17 months to me. He's looked tired a lot early in the season, which I think is to be expected. He mentioned after the game that he asked out against the Warriors a couple times just because he was not feeling like he was feeling ill. So he's dealing with some sort of non-COVID illness. I don't think it was a big deal. And then against the Hawks, he was experiencing some cramping. So he's, I think the conditioning level has got to continue to improve, and it's something that I think can only improve, in some ways by playing 5-on-5. I mean, that's the best conditioning you're gonna get, right? Like we used to see Shaq. I mean, he showed up to Lakers training camp a lot of times out of shape, and he would play his way into shape over the course of the season. Like Luka Doncic kind of did that last year with the Dallas Mavericks. Like that's the best conditioning you're going to get is playing 34 minutes in an NBA game, night after night. So that's just going to take some time. I thought the defense, my first watch last night, it looked really bad to me. I tweeted about it. And then when I rewatched the game today, I don't think it was good, but it wasn't quite as bad as I remembered it being. It seems like there's plays where he's just tired and he lets go of the rope and he lets guys just blow by him and it's not that big of a deal. Like those are the plays that just can't happen as the season progresses.
You just can't see in 2 consecutive possessions. I cannot see a 5'0" Jose Alvarado dig into a guy's hip to cut off his dribble, and then see a guy with the size and explosion of Zion never even have a chance to get in front of someone. There's no excuse for those two bodies to fundamentally not be able to achieve getting in front of a person. Like when you compare them to each other, like I watch Jose fighting like a madman to stay in front of people and to take away angles, even though they're going to try to go through him. He's going to get foul calls, all the stuff, like the tenaciousness that he has. Tenacity. Let's dump tenacity. But it's just stark when you see that, and then you see the next possession, and it's Trae Young. Like let me throw this out there too. Like it's Trae Young driving past you. It's DeJounte Murray driving past you. We're not talking about like slouches. This is not you're not getting cooked by like average wings. You have to stay off a Trae to a degree, because he's hunting fouls on his jumper. Like you're gonna leave some distance and close and try and make sure you don't make contact.
By the way, I think he has a credible claim as the biggest foul grifter in today's NBA. But continue.
Dude, he is up there. And can, like, quick little side note on that. I mean, 10 free throws just gifted on like contact he initiated. It's just over and over, and not to get into like a referee bitch session, but
we can do it if you want. So me and my friend Adam Morris in Denver, we talk all the time. Like, I'm a short guy, 5'8". Like he's a big guy, and I always joke. I was like, you hate short people, and he's like, yeah, because of the way they're ref during games. Like they get the benefit of the doubt, and there is such a disparity between the way big guys are ref nowadays and short guys are ref nowadays. Well, I got to say, watching the way Zion is officiated versus Trae Young, there's a lot of legitimacy to that argument. Like Trae Young does the thing where he's driving with his right hand and he throws up his left hand, his off hand, like into the defender and creates contact that way. And like he'll earn trips to the line. Like it feels like a lot of the Harden stuff from Houston, which is very frustrating. I mean, I just hate when officials reward, flopping or minimal contact.
Worst one of the game, and also the one that sticks out the most, because Jose made sure to make it stick out, and you can send this one to the league office. When he meets Trae at the top of the key, is running alongside him as Trae's cutting to the basket. As soon as they get within a foot of each other, his arms go straight up, and he keeps his arms straight up the whole way. Never makes contact with Trae, just keeps his arms up and stays in the path headed toward the rim. Trae runs into him, throws a shoulder into him, tosses the ball up, free throws. And it's like, this is exactly how you would want this play to be defended. This is exactly the way. And even now, like, you want to talk about body size advantage. Like, I can't get the benefit of the doubt for 5'11". And even he is like a big monster when it comes to defending Trae Young. Like, it's brutal, man. Like that. It's just so tough when you see that Jose was conscious of it, threw his arms up, made sure he wasn't going to reach, didn't initiate the contact. And you just knew that it was going to be a foul call. And it's like, I don't even know what to do when I'm watching that, other than just be like, yeah, of course, New Orleans isn't going to get that call in Atlanta playing against Trae Young. But like, some sort of equivalence. Like we've heard it talked about on the broadcasts and everything. Like I know, AD and Joel are famously trying not to get fined every night on the mics, but it's so patently obvious sometimes, and it's really frustrating. I know nobody wants to hear fans talk about it. Well, it's just a brutal whistle.
I think in general, complaining about officiating, I don't like it, because I think it's a loser's mentality. Like I mean, you have to control where you can control, but this is a extreme example to me. I mean, Trae gets an insane whistle, especially if you watch Zion and JV night after night, and like the way they just take contact in the paint and sometimes doesn't get called. Yeah, there was a play in this game too where JV was backing, I believe, Clint Capella down, and Clint Capella,
I know the one,
just fell down and he got called for the charge. And it's like, this is not healthy if this is being called an offensive foul and Trae is getting to the line 8-10 times, just by somebody looking at him or blowing on him.
Yeah. And it's there's already a tough Zion whistle. Like, that's coming. Like, it's the Shaq thing. Like, I don't know how to ref him because he is a freak of nature and he's gigantic. So naturally, like, he's at fault for everything. A little man bumps into guys. Oh, look, he died. Clearly, like, Chris Paul birthed this movement in New Orleans. Like, he was the guy who basically got the hesitation dribble backside foul. He
Papa
put that thing
Felgrift.
put that thing in the Hall of Fame. He created a, like, getting fouled at the half court line coming up the floor. And it's just like he just wait for pressure and fall over. It just is the dumbest thing, and he got rewarded all the time. So, it's hard to be like a New Orleans fan and complain too much because, like, we feasted off of the creation of this crap. But I want to see dudes play basketball. I want to see athletic plays get rewarded. We complain about this in soccer all the time with VAR. Don't let stupid non-sports things get in the way of amazing sports happening on camera. Do not take away powerful moments because of, like, your own, like, you saw something and you think, oh, maybe, I don't know, make the call. Like, when in doubt, swallow the whistle. When in doubt, let the basketball bounce and see what happens. I think we'd all enjoy the league more that way. We don't have to get into all the, how's the league doing and all that stuff, but it's a frustrating watch sometimes. And it birthed this whole era of, like, there are guys that as amazing as they are, Luka is one of the most amazing players in the NBA. He's a phenomenal watch. He's also one of the more painful watches if you keep your eyes on him for an entire game, if you don't like somebody complaining to the ref, because that man thinks he's been fouled on every single play that he's ever touched the ball. And it's not just him, it's Harden, it's LeBron, it's every star with the ball in their hands. Jokic famously has every facial expression under the sun, throwing his hands all over, never gets a tech for it. But, he could do all that. If Herb looks at you funny, he might catch a tech, which is crazy. But, this is the culture we live in now with basketball. And it tends to go away a little bit in the playoffs. I think it's been like James Harden's playoff downfall a lot of the time. Hopefully it goes away again. But it's so, so hard to deal with when you're trying to watch the product and just enjoy it, and possessions just get taken away
Yeah,
because of
they can't allow
nitpicky
you to
garbage.
foul grift like this in the regular season. They've got to officiate it, I think, a little more similar to how they ref it during the playoffs. I checked on this before the Golden State game. I don't know how much it's changed, but there's only one player in the NBA averaging more post-ups per game than Zion Williamson, and that is Nikola Jokic, who is, the best back to the basket player in the NBA, like him and Embiid, probably 1 and 2 in some order. I don't think the Pelicans need to go away from Zion post-ups or anything like that, but I think there are other ways to use them that will make his life easier. And in general, I just think it's hard to dump him the ball 10, 12, 15 times in a game and just say, pound the rock and go back to the basket and try to score that way. Like, that is physically taxing. I just want to see him get the ball on the move a little bit more, like be able to attack that way. And I thought he did more against
Yeah,
Atlanta
he did.
compared to Golden State.
Yeah, I think that was a major complaint coming out of the Golden State game, and you immediately saw a little bit of point Zion at the top of the key in the Atlanta game. He got a handful of opportunities to go do that. I think there's obviously, like, point Zion, put the ball in his hand to start the play and let him decide how it ends. And some of his reads off of penetration have been good in those situations. Like, he's had some really nice passing moments off of some of those looks. How much do you feel like I look at the post ups and I see it, and, like, for me, it's like, okay, noted. Am I worried? No. Zion's a superstar and he's scoring 20 points every night, and he's going to keep scoring 20 points. And what we're talking about is the difference between, like, 20 and 35 and, more, and a heightened amount of foul calls because he's on the move, things like that. Like, putting layers of pressure rather than just making him a singular paint presence and allowing the defense to get set. We're nitpicking a little bit to reach, like, the ultimate goal of what he's going to be and what the offense is going to look like. So I'm not worried, But I totally get it. Like Zion on the move that's the deal. That's the whole reason you draft him one and everything. It's the explosive movement. And if you're cutting any of that off, it's to your detriment to not utilize that. At the same time, I wonder how much of that is trying to function inside of an offense that has this many players on it that that can take the ball, that can establish plays, and like trying to fit him into that in a way that makes sense. Because Point Zion is a little heliocentric, to use a popular NBA word. He does kind of either kick it super early, or he holds the ball and establishes a drive and eventually tries to go through contact. I don't want to see a ton of that until he's doing something with the counters and something to negate these walls at the rim, because it's fouls every time. It's a charge. Like I feel what feels like half the time he goes to the rim right now. But and that's my dog's butt just floating right there. But you have to get it. The big question, I think, even from last year, when do we get to see him and BI, him and CJ in more pick and roll situations? Why do we run like league lowest pick and roll game when so much of successful NBA offense, especially come playoff time, is just multiple iterations of pick and roll? And how do you defend those three guys when two of them are in the action together? And
Yeah, I mean, I think
we
that's a
haven't
really
seen it.
interesting question, and just from conversations I've had with people on the staff, Willie spent some time at Golden State, and that's kind of a Golden State Warriors philosophy. Like, I think a lot of the stuff that Willie really believes on offense comes from Kerr, comes from Golden State. We're going to share the ball. We're going to make quick decisions. And it's a different type of offense than just going pick and roll every time down the floor. I mean, that was a Warriors fan gripe for a while. Why don't we just run the pick and roll with Steph a little bit more? I think the way Willie wants to play is difficult to play well, but when you can do it well, it's so hard to stop, and it's such a good offense. Um, I think there are times like definitely they can incorporate more pick and roll. I thought that worked. The CJ Zion pick and roll worked really well against LA. I maybe would have liked to see it more. But I think that is an interesting thing to monitor going forward. Like, how do they balance playing, kind of like this read and react, quick decision making style, and versus how much to incorporate just going straight pick and roll. I mean, I think that's a really interesting thing to monitor moving forward.
I think that's the kind of the story of the season as we head towards the midseason, toward like post All-Star break, headed toward playoffs. I think right now you are trying to figure out all the facets of your identity. Who do you trust in very specific roles? Who's that guy, that eighth or ninth guy on the team that you trust with a little ball handling responsibility? Who's that guy that you like as a very specific like role defender? You're trying to carve out all that stuff. So I think we're learning a little bit about all of that. You've seen a little bit of a reemergence of Najee Marshall from a couple years ago, and what we liked about him and what we liked about that contract for him in his ability to drive, get to the line. I think the thing that really was brutal about him last year is that I thought the thing that made him special as a find was he could generate contact around the rim and get to the line over and over and over again. Like he was like per minute, he was up there on the team in terms of people drawing contact. And if you have that and you can defend a little bit, you're going to be a valuable role player. You can live in this league. And then last year, it was just kind of chaos, Najee, and the free throws were never there.
Yeah, I thought
And
he just lost confidence in his offense in general. I mean, he
now he's
wasn't.
shooting threes.
Yeah, he wasn't. He just wasn't scoring enough to where you could even keep him on the floor. And I think that has changed this year. I just
Yeah.
see more overall confidence in
But to
the outside shooting and the stuff at
yeah,
the rim.
to wrap that up, it's I think we're trying to solve a small chunk. Like what we have on the floor, there's a talent level that is still very, very clear that you could screw the whole game up and you're going to have a chance to win every night.
Yeah,
If you have two of those guys out there, you could screw the whole thing up and you're going to have a chance to win every single night. And if that's the case, maybe it's 10% pick and roll. Maybe it's, trimming down, defensive scheme changes. Maybe it's going, imposing your will. I think this is one of the other things that I'm looking at Willie and I'm wondering where we are 30 games from now. Imposing your stylistic will on the other team rather than playing matchup. I struggle a little bit sometimes when I see I see the personnel they put out and we put out kind of matching personnel rather than saying hey, I have these freaks out here, deal with them. You're going to go small and put out a bunch of 6'8" guys. Okay, I'm going to run Zion into all of them and you can all deal with it. And Larry's out there punish them, which I think we've done pretty well. We've punished the paint a good bit, even when JV's not been in, taking advantage of some size disadvantages and whatnot. I think we got to find that that 80-20, that 90-10 in the offense. The offense is good enough. If they can find that trusty thing that they can switch to that gets them flowing just that little bit better, it's kind of unstoppable. They could go through a scoring drought of 13 possessions and go down 15 points. They're going to be there. They're going to have an opportunity to get it to a one possession game. So, I feel good about it. And I feel I'm interested to look back 15 or 20 games from now and see what more we've learned about what we're going to believe in and what we're going to trust. I don't really have the specific gripes that a lot of people do about specific guys in the rotation. A lot of because of what you said about it's the Kerr system. You're trying to make them defend every position all night. You want that ball to go to everybody. You want adequate spacing. You need a 3-point threat. Are you trying to force 3-point volume? No. I think one of the big things that makes us different from Golden State is even with Trey is clearly going to be, he looks like he's going to be an elite 3-point shooter across the league. He does not create his own 3-point looks or really shoot through contact in the way that a Klay Thompson would off of Steph. I know we're talking about Klay Thompson, healthy Klay Thompson, not now. But we don't have guys like Devontae will do it. He's absolutely nuts. He'll jump up with hands in his face and, just arc his back and fire a 3 from 30 feet. Trey's confident when he's open, but I'd like to see more people take them when the defense does close and, just trust your ability and shoot through contact. Maybe draw a foul or two. And I don't think we do that a lot. And I think that puts a little bit of pressure on the Golden State system. If you're not the 3-point volume shooting team and you're the spread team, some nights there's going to be a math advantage on the other side of the floor that you're competing with as much as a scheme.
Yeah. I mean, coming out of that Brooklyn game, I think there was maybe a little optimism that it's oh, this is going to be instantaneous. And the starting 5 who just walloped the Nets, what was it, plus 23 in 14 minutes or whatever it was, they've already got it figured out. My takeaway after 9 games is I think the Pelicans have got a chance. They're going to be good, but they don't know who they are yet. And that's okay. It's going to take time. When I look back at that Brooklyn game, I mean, that feels as much of the Nets were a disaster, and maybe we just didn't realize the extent to which they were a disaster. And yeah, the Pelicans have got a chance to be pretty good this year. As far as the rotations go, I think, Willie's gone 10 deep these past 2 games when pretty much everyone has been healthy. The 5 starters. His 10th guy has been Devontae. I think in a perfect world, maybe Dyson is getting those minutes. I just can't hammer Willie for playing Devontae. Look,
not this early too. This early,
it's
who he's been in the league, the spacing.
Yeah, well, let me say this too. I mean, go back to last year when the Pelicans couldn't win anything. How did they get out of that? Well, they got out of it by starting Devontae and Josh Hart and Brandon Ingram and Herb and Jonas Valanciunas, and those guys with Willie kind of steered away from the iceberg. I just think there's a trust there, and I can't fault Willie for completely putting the kibosh on any Devontae minutes, early this season. There was trust built up, and Devontae, played a small part in helping them get out of a really bad situation last year. So I just can't freak out about it yet.
And I think he's been good. Through these 9 games, I think he's been good in that role, and I think the level of his defense has been better than I've ever seen him. He's busting his butt.
I don't know.
I don't think it's good, but he is clearly trying, like watching him front off of what was the inbounds play the other night to close the game. We had the like final possession. Watching him run around. I think was it Dallas when they were trying to get the ball into Luka. They just he looks like he is busting his butt. He's clearly somebody that you trust. He's not shooting 20% anymore. And the defenders come out above the 3-point line to defend him, which is like the biggest reason that you put him out there. So yeah, I'm same thing. So early in the season, it's a guy he trusts. It's a guy who's done things correctly for him. I want to get through the season with all these guys healthy, so I don't mind. I don't really love the Tibbs, Nick Nurse. I only play 7 or 8 guys, and everybody's hurt halfway through the season. Teams. I know they get celebrated for their defense because there's only 7 people talking to each other. So like that's cool that they can play really well and never have
I
to.
mean, they wouldn't have to do that when they're completely healthy. I mean,
Yeah.
they go 10 or 11 deep when they're completely healthy. But.
Yeah, that's when people want to shorten lineups like this early in the season is all I'm saying. Like there are teams that run exclusively short lineups through the regular season. It's how they win a ton of games. It's how the Toronto Raptors beat their wins expectation every single year, even when they don't have players where it looks like it should happen. And I have no problem with the approach. We should be learning right now what we need to be later. I think that's what we're doing. I think there's still a possibility of that consolidation trade we've talked about a couple times. There's so much to be seen in this season. And I'm still like, when they claw their way back into games that they shouldn't win and they're right there with a chance to win it, I struggle to be mad. The record is kind of reflective of what
They've
we
only
said
not been
preseason.
competitive in 1 out of the 9 games. So that was
Right.
Against a really good Phoenix team on the road with guys out.
Yeah. And what did we say? Like we said, stars healthy. How often do they play together? What does this team look like? I think, did you finish? You said 48 wins and I said 50.
Yep.
I think that's what they look like. They look like somewhere, but some 5th or 6th best team in the West right now. They could get better than that. If the offense gets figured out or the defense is a little tighter, rotation's a little shorter, then it's possible that it looks better than this. But this is what basketball looks like. You're gonna lose some games to good teams and bad teams. Like everybody in the NBA pretty much is good. I mean, the bad teams, the teams that were supposed to be tanking, are in the top of the league. What are we? We're having massive early season parity because no one is explicitly tanking yet. We lucked out in Golden State taking the night off essentially, but I'm still good. I'm still happy. It's early. I see a lot to like. Save my guys' knees. Keep Larry's knees healthy. Keep Bi and Zion. Get them on a track to 70 games. 70 is a kind of huge. If I can get 60, I'll take it.
If you listen to this podcast, I think you knew that Willie was going to play Jose and Devontae off the bench, and you knew that Larry Nance Jr. was going to play an enormous role this year, and those two things have happened 9 games in the season. Can we finish up with a little bit on the Kyrie situation? And I only want to talk about it because CJ McCollum, who's the president of the Players Association, spoke a little bit about it in the locker room in Atlanta last night. CJ's general message was guys need to vet what they're putting on their social media pages. CJ said that he believes Kyrie didn't watch the anti-Semitic film that he promoted. I thought that was good practical advice, especially to young guys. Like if you are going to put something out there, that is the same as promoting it, and you need to know exactly what is in it. But man, this is I'm kind of tired of like listening to all of this because it's like I really just have to listen to this guy who his media diet, his media consumption is clearly just like bad YouTube videos, like a guy who's just caught in the algorithm and like we're this dumb.
Yeah. This is the era of, famous thought leaders because they're famous, not because they have any useful thoughts. We turn to reality TV stars left and right to guide public sentiment, which is really strange. And then, like, the worst part is when you get into when you start hearing like Kyle Kuzma goes out and tweets like, "Oh, they're just shutting him down. They're not letting him speak his mind." Blah blah blah. Like you see him and like Michael Porter Jr. and everybody all jump up and be like, "Yeah, let him talk." Like, cool. So every one of you, like, I'm counting one by one. Like, you're sitting on YouTube at 4 o'clock in the morning. You're reading books with no barcodes. You over here, like, you heard something some dude on the side of the road told you one time, and you made that your religion. It is nuts how many young people with tons and tons of money, because that is what famous American sports, like, this is the ball game here. You get power. With money comes power. With power comes responsibility, like Spider-Man quote and all that. And so these dudes are going to have microphones in their face and they're going to say stuff. And I'm trying to remember who I'm quoting. I think it was maybe it was Nick Wright who said that Kyrie's the worst kind of dude, because he's smart enough to know he's smart, but he thinks he's a genius.
Yeah.
And so, like, he's a smart guy, but he thinks he's a genius. So his IQ might be 120, 130. He thinks it's 180. And
Yeah,
so he
I
is
thought
going to
that was a
come out
pretty
here.
good bit. That was from 2 years ago too, I believe.
Yeah, it's brutal to hear. And this is all over. Like, this is Twitter in a nutshell. These rando accounts that show up like on your timeline trying to argue with you. I know you never get into this stuff, but to the Bane quote, "I was born in it." All of my friends deal with this stuff, like, in basketball Twitter. Like, you run into these accounts where these people say just wild, outlandish things. And you're like, okay, reminder, you're either 15, you are not intelligent, or there's something going on and you need help. And you just got to, like, file it away, step back, don't engage. These people are out there. It's a weird time for people screaming their opinions very loudly and feeling like they're valid.
I just think we went too far in the last 5 years of a lot of people viewing NBA players as thought leaders, when really they're kind of just like modern day gladiators. And that's not to say they're dumb. Many of them are smart. Garrett Temple, extremely smart guy. Maybe he'll be running LSU one day. CJ McCollum, extremely smart guy. I I enjoy their perspective, but you know, I don't take their word as gospel or anything like that. I mean, like,
The sh- the
the like,
shame of it
I thought,
is,
I mean, it's just crazy to me. Like, I remember a couple years ago when Kyrie was, pretty anti-bubble, and it was like, "Well, look, your choices are don't do this, and there will be economic calamity for the NBA because you're not gonna fulfill the local TV rights, or go do this. It's gonna suck, but you can avoid economic calamity, and guys can get most of their paychecks." And Kyrie's making a big deal out of it. And, like, I remember at the time, like, the media who was you know, looking at Kyrie and I'm wondering, "What are you doing, man?" Like, there are a lot of people, like, even in the media in New Orleans, who are like, "Well, you don't know, man. Kyrie's, like, the vice president of the NBA Players Association." It's like, this is I mean, this just doesn't this lacks common sense to me. It's like, there are 2 choices here. Like, yeah, it's gonna suck. It's not gonna be fun, but it seems like it's gonna be a pretty safe environment, and, like, this is just what it is, you know? Like, this is what you gotta do to go collect 75% of your paycheck, you know? So, I just think we went too far.
yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, but it's a larger cultural thing than just NBA. It just we're in a place right now where everybody's living in the TikTok algorithms and everything. Like, whatever, no one cares about the nuance or the deep take that actually, like, the real thought. They only care about the snippet on the front end. And that's a lot of, like, what Kyrie's thought process was when he hit retweet on that damn thing. He doesn't care about what's going to come of it. He doesn't care who's going to get hurt. He was just like, yeah, it looks cool. Click. Doesn't matter. Don't quiz me on this. Like, I'm just, this is free speech and I'm just expressing myself, but I'm not celebrating it or supporting it. I think, Chuck said a long time ago, like, I'm not a role model. I'm not your role model. we've kind of lost that in the NBA because a lot of guys are trying to diversify who they are and what their career path is. Like they're trying to be multiple things. So we're running in direct conflict there. Like real stars in the NBA are stars in multiple facets. They're not just basketball players. They're trying to be more than that. Some of them have the capability to participate majorly in politics and be educated and convincing in that way. A lot of them can't. And a lot of them are teenagers who did not have a lot of schooling, who have a lot of people around them that just say that everything that they do is great and that they're the best. And they buy a lot of shiny things and they do whatever they want and accumulate knowledge however they see fit and think that that means that it's intelligence. And Kyrie's one of those people. And it's just like, don't join cults, folks. Do not join cults. Do not like just let stuff pass into your ear and be like, you know what? That sounds good. So I believe it. Like, I think the greatest thing that I ever got out of media, the reason that I like people like you so damn much, I'm a fan. I look at things through the wrong prism a lot of the time because I'm rooting for an outcome.
Well,
I have
there's not a
always
wrong prism. It's just rooting
no
for a thing. That's
right.
what it,
It's wrong if what you want is like the truth, the reality of what you're looking at. So I've always gravitated towards journalists because what you're trying to do is tell me the accurate story more so than just how it should be spoon fed to me for my enjoyment. And we're kind of diverging there right now, but I think like Bomani Jones is one of them that like when I listened to him 10 years ago, anytime he'd say something, like he'd say stuff that like would rattle me and I'd hear it and be like, I'd start to get like upset about like what I just heard. And then I'd think about it for a couple of days and I'm like, oh, my approach to this is really weird. I need to know more. And every journalist I've ever talked to has done that to me and has like forced me to try to broaden my perspective a little bit. I wish we could go more towards that instead of away from it. Like save the papers and the journalists, bring back the deep takes, listen to podcasts from people that actually have real careers in this stuff. Not to say that, you know, people like me can't be on here too. Shout out to that podcast that said that bad thing. But yeah, it's wacko. Don't join cults. Don't be comfortable in your own beliefs to the point where you never question them. None of us are finished products. None of us have figured this out. I'm 34. I haven't figured anything out yet. I just started this dad thing. I don't have a clue. I don't know a damn thing. I couldn't have spotted a pick and roll on an NBA floor 4 years ago. And you know, now I can call out second side action when it's a problem. So, you know, I just more attention span. Just more attention span. That's all I ask for.
I mean, I'm interested to see how this ends with Kyrie. I mean, the Shams Charania put out that he's got 6 things to do before he can come back. I mean, people around the situation have wondered for a while, does he want to continue playing basketball? He's a free agent after this year. You know, I wonder if the Lakers will kick the tires on that. But yeah, man, that was
that list of demands. That list of demands pretty aggressive, and I love it. And I don't think he's playing basketball.
The last one was the one that stuck out to me the most. It was meet with Joe Tsai and basically express contrition. It was so yeah, you got to go
say hi to Daddy
office a little bit. Yeah,
go tell Daddy what you did was wrong. Yeah. And that you're really sorry. But look, quick shout out to the Nets. I think that is the correct and serious way to handle how ridiculous this exchange has been. And how thoughtless all of this has been, how reckless he has repeatedly been. That is actual, like they documented what accountability looks like in a way that I did not expect an NBA team to look for. It also makes me feel like he's never going to play for the Nets again. Because like if this dude's been anything, I mean, he tries to send a donation to the I forget the name of the name ADL. Of the group, the ADL. Yeah. Tries to send a donation, but like sends his parents to talk to them. Like his parents are the ones that are going to meet with him.
Yeah, I believe his stepmother's his agent. But yeah, I don't know. It's a dumb situation, Adam. I thought TJ had some good things to say about it. Like that's good practical advice for young guys in the league. If you're gonna share something on your social media page, you need to have consumed that content. You need to have read the article, watched the film, and know what's in it.
That is life advice for everyone, folks. Everybody who downloads this, that you don't hit retweet. Like when it asks you if you've read the thing, now that Twitter does that, it asks you if you read the thing before you hit it. Unless it's Christian Clark's articles and you're just saving it for later, don't blast retweet until you have read it. Make sure you know what's in there. And by the way, your likes. If we haven't learned this by now with famous coaches and players and administrators, clicking like on things, it's viewable, folks. I am judging you. If I see that stuff pop up on my timeline, I am noting like, oh my God, does this person understand the set of beliefs they are aligning with? Clearly not. They also don't understand that all this is publicly visible.
You know who learned that lesson this year?
Who did?
Doc Rivers.
Oh yeah. Which, man, he had to be hacked, right? That was weird stuff.
I don't know, man.
Super weird, man.
Like
it was just a level
internet.
so
boomers
far.
In the internet, sometimes, especially Twitter. All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Adam, great to talk to you again, man. We'll chat with you guys again later this week.
Thank you for the Brooks shout out on the prior pod, and salute to you for those 2 episodes with Joel and with Adam. I thought they were fantastic. I'm a little jealous of the chemistry that you had. Don't replace me with another Adam. I'm a little insecure now.
Won't replace you with another Adam. I am working on replacing my voice with Joel Myers. I'll let you guys know how that's going.
10 of 10 would listen.